Yo, what's up, everybody? If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me tell you, this is one of the easiest ways to make a podcast. First of all, it's free. Second of all, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit the podcast right from your phone or computer. Third, Anchor will also distribute for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Then you can also make money from the podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Later.
Welcome to The Lion's Den with Seth, a podcast where progressive men and women can learn and teach each other the ways of the land. The Lion's Den is where royalty comes to council. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Seth.
Boom. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Lion's Den. I'm your host, Seth, and I just want to welcome you. And we just had a off the script, off topic conversation about small wins. And Larry was in the mix of telling us about his small win for this weekend. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Hey, my small win was ordering me some books, man, trying to grow my mind, my brain, and all that, and putting together my son's basketball hoop.
Okay.
Don't
Now,
know where it was from. I just put it together today, okay?
Okay, wait, no, because see, now listen, now look, the rest of the world needs to know now, when did you get him that basketball hoop?
Hey, man, we got it somewhere around Christmas time.
Around when?
Around Christmas time.
So now I said this before, but I want everybody to know, like, so I would have been mad as hell. I probably would have wanted to kick you in your sleep. So I'm watching this. I'm seeing my gift up against the wall all year, and you mad, right? And just being lazy, don't want to put it up. Why would you? And then it's about to come around again. What are you doing, bruh?
Hey, man, that thing, there's too many parts. I set that in the garage and I forgot all about it.
I got a question, Larry.
I pulled it out and he was shocked. He's like, y'all just bought me this? I'm like, yup.
Hold on. Is it your son? Was it your son's birthday or something?
No, his
Because it
birthday
would have
next.
been smart. You got it for him for Christmas, but put together on his birthday. That's the gift they keep on giving.
Yeah, I was looking for that gift where the dude was like this, man. I was going but I couldn't find it. I was smart with it, you know, man. We saved it for a later time to open it up. Because we just knew he was going to be quarantined 4 months later.
Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So just playing like that. Okay.
Right. Okay. Wait. Well, look, we could dig that. So, let me see. I got my man's Will. He's on the way in. He's having some technical difficulties. But look, everybody that's there, I want y'all to know, yes, this is the Lion's Den, and we want to welcome y'all. And hey, send us your comments. It's all good. We can all see them now, real time, and it's just a good time, right? I believe that it's a great time in the world. Even though we're in a bad situation, we're still able to connect. Will, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother?
No, nothing much, bro. So welcome, man. We was just talking about about our small wins. Tell me about your weekend, man. How was your weekend?
Hey, I'm COVID free, and so is the family. So praise Jesus in them.
And damn, I feel you.
Keeping it cool. Just finding ways to make our minds stronger. Working with the kid one-on-one, and praying to God these teachers quit sitting down home all this homework.
Oh my God, bro!
Like that?
You know what I'm saying? Wow. So look, this homework is a whole different type of stupid, in my opinion, bro. We got to go through all these different extra rules to do all this stuff that doesn't make sense. It's like you got to go around the corner just to, you get what I'm saying? Just to get to carrying the one. Y'all been dealing with that,
Bro, so the problem I have with it, man, is my kids used to ask me for help on their homework before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell them, man, y'all better copy off the other kids like I did. You know what I mean? Don't come asking me. And so now all of a sudden, there's no other kids to copy off of, man. What the hell are we supposed to do?
Bro.
You know what I mean?
What are you supposed to do?
Man, listen.
Man.
Hey, you know, yeah, math done changed. I'll tell you this though, bro. I ain't gonna lie, man. My daughter was asking me for some help, and I'm like, yeah, I got it too easy. It started coming into some, freaky division, bruh. Hey, I said, you know what? Maybe YouTube can teach you better. You feel me? So I went to YouTube because I had to learn it again myself. I'm like, damn it, how you know what I'm saying? Bruh, come on now. We done been out of school for over 20 years, damn near. You dig what I'm saying? And stuff is different. You know what I mean?
Man, like, why would you give it back?
Wait, what you say? What you say, Larry?
I said, why we can't just add the normal way we add and subtract, man? Why we got to do all these count by tens and hundreds and all this other stuff that's going on?
Yeah, it is. It's an issue, bro.
It's crazy.
It's an issue. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, and those that are on live right now, I do want to thank y'all for being on. But before we go into our topic, I want to give a huge thank you. Okay, for those of you that donated to our boy Nathan Jackson. Okay, so if y'all don't know, he had his family house was devastated in a tornado in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and luckily no one was hurt, but they were still able to, well, put it like this: they had insurance. Okay, have insurance. However, anything that we can give always help, because you never know what type of added expense. And so we're just running this one more time as far as this campaign. If you want to give, you can look down below. You can donate to the Jackson family. You can go to Lions Cast, all right, on Cash App. And trust me, hey, it's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not like you put your money in and then we're gonna okay. Listen, after tomorrow we give it. Hey, whatever, it is what it is. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. Stop fronting. But hey, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But back to the subject. If you are led to give, we do appreciate it. Seriously, we really, really do, because no one can ask for this, or you can't expect things like that to happen. So again, if y'all want to give, cool. All right. Hey, so we're waiting on Mr. Simmons to come back on, right? The retired Chief Master Sergeant Simmons. But hey, speaking of that Cash App loop, what y'all think about that?
I don't have it.
Hey, Will, I see your face, bro. Tell me what you think about it.
It doesn't exist.
What doesn't exist?
Ain't nothing free in this world. I don't care who it is.
You say you don't care who it is. Ain't nothing free.
Ain't nothing free in this world, man. That's stress.
Herm, what you think about that joint?
Hey, man, I don't know what we're talking about, man. Hey, I got a card. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't gonna know any other people on there. My name just happened to be in the middle of it. If y'all are ready to make some money, man, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? I got you guys, man. You might be able to get a little bit of paper in the end, but at least I get paid.
You're right. So yeah. Hey, Larry, have you seen any of that information, brother?
On what was it? Cash App?
Yeah, it's a Cash App kind of. It's a scheme. Pretty much, it's a pyramid scheme.
Oh, I haven't seen
your
it.
name in that. Yeah, you put your name in the little triangle boxes.
Yeah,
is that on Facebook or something?
Bro, it's everywhere.
Oh, I ain't seen it. I was talking about somebody had it where it say jail or something like that. I didn't know what that was until y'all just brought it up.
Yeah.
I seen the thing floating around, but it didn't. I ain't know. I don't pay attention. So
right.
I'm out of the loop on that.
Okay. All right.
Retired Command Chief Master Sergeant Mr. Todd Simmons, who is now the CEO and founder of the Courageous Leadership Alliance. And he's here to talk to us a little bit about leadership and what it takes to become one.
You already won.
Yeah. Welcome, brother. Yeah. Yeah. We got to get, we got to set the stage on right. We got to set the stage right. So, but again, man, thank you for those words, though. Seriously, I really do appreciate it. But today it's about you, man. I want to thank you for getting on, getting in this circle of men and getting ready to get bit. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a real good time. So, let's talk about first, man, 25 years.
25 years, 7 months, 4 days, 6 to 10 hours.
Man, if you don't stop, bro. Wow. Yeah, that's a long time, man. So tell me, how was your journey, though? How was your journey?
Man, my journey was great. And honestly, I can't I can't say a negative thing, because any negative or any barrier that I've encountered in my 25-year journey, man, has been overcome by tenfold of positive things. So, man, it's been great for me. Like many kids who come into the Air Force, man, same story, man. For the majority of them, looking and searching for something. So for me, coming from a small town, man, and searching for something, I found it in the Air Force, and it gave me an opportunity, man, to be sitting here with you today. So I can never, ever, ever, because the way I view it, man, people say, I had a bad time. I view it as an opportunity that only I could have made one or two choices with. Take advantage of it or not. And I took advantage of the opportunities, man, because I always tell people, man, I didn't grow up with much, and I came into the Air Force, and I didn't have any silver spoon or anything. But the one thing that each of us who have joined the military have had at 18, 19, whatever years old, is an equalizer, man. You come in and you can kind of, it ain't gonna be easy. I ain't gonna sit here and say I had an easy time, man. I faced issues that everybody else faced, man. I faced, at some points, discrimination, or I faced, people trying to hold you back, or people trying to push you forward, or I faced all the barriers or whatever. So, but I got through it, man. But it was a great ride for me, great ride for my family. I pinch myself every day, man. I mean, we all young, bro. You're a young man, and you get to start a second chapter with purpose, based on having some security from your first chapter. So you can't beat that, man.
Right. I can dig that. I can dig it. So, I mean, in leadership, there's so many different ways that you can categorize or say what leadership truly is. And so us in the Lions Den, we pride ourselves on being leaders in our own right. Okay. Our main focus is leadership, growth, and development. And I think that's it's fitting for not just what we're trying to do, but the fact that you are here. So what would you say is your own definition of leadership?
I would say it's real, authentic, vulnerable, empathetic, human-centered leadership, man. And what I mean by that is be the person that you are, man. Regardless if you have this uniform or not. We use little cliches like treat people like you want to be treated, or remember where you come from. All of those are great. But it's about waking up every day, man, and don't lose yourself in any of the press clips that you're reading about yourself. Don't lose yourself that you may not have had a meal as a kid and now you can eat, and now you forget about what it feels like to be hungry. Don't lose yourself in anything. Always, every day, remember, man, that you came from somewhere and that everybody else behind you is trying to get there too. So leadership for me is any success of mine. I got to go back and turn around and say, how can I take everybody who's trying to run with me? That's leadership, man. And that's the way you treat people every day. That's the way you talk to people. That's the way you spend 5, 10, 20 seconds with people, or 10 minutes or 10 days. That's the relationships that you build. It can't be built off of this mechanism of I'm a master sergeant, you're an airman, so I can't holler at you on a human-centered approach because, man, I'm here and you here. When you get into, and that's just not military, that's anywhere, man. That's corporate or that's military. Leadership for me is showing up every day being a human being. And we all fail at things, and I can say I failed at that a couple of times in 25 years. You can't be perfect at everything or nothing. I'm perfect at nothing. I try hard at everything. So for me, showing up every day, trying to treat everybody as a human, trying to know what your ambitions are. If you were my troop as an airman, I want to know what you want to do in your life. The military is going to happen. I want to know what you want to do in your life. So for me, leadership is being a human being. Never forgetting all those things I just said. All around crazy definition I just gave you, but I don't have no Webster's dictionary. It's about showing up and being just a person, man. And for me, taking off that uniform at 25 years, I should be no different because I had those stripes and that star behind me than the day that I now have to wear this button-up shirt. I should be no different. I should be the same person that you have encountered. Same person. So that's what leadership is for me.
Right on. Okay. Go ahead, Herm. What you got, brother?
So, Todd, you mentioned that being authentic, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important too, but that's saying like if everybody was born, to actually be a good person. The Air Force, in the corporate world, I'm sure same way. people come from all different walks of life. So what do you say to the person that maybe authentically they're not a good person and not a good leader? How do you help mold that person?
Well, I'm just going to be frank. I mean, how do you mold? You got to get, so look, not everybody is going to be CEO. Not everybody's going to be vice president. Not everybody going to be this thing, you know. So when you tell people, so how do you mold people? You try to make people the best version of themselves. So regardless if we're talking about military or corporate America, it's about talent management. And when I talk about talent management, I'm saying, you know, people who have certain characteristics of how they interact with people, we can call them soft skills or whatever, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to rise in a leadership position or wherever it's at. So how do I cultivate that? It's accountability. You were right. Every 18-year-old Todd Simmons is not the same person that he was at probably 25 years old. Because at 18 years old, man, I was a little rough around the edge kid, man. I didn't trust nobody. My responses to people was a little bit different. You probably would have called me some words that, you know, people probably viewed me, and they probably viewed me and probably said thug or whatever they wanted to view me as 18 years old. But, you know, I didn't have a lot of, my mom was a great mom, but I didn't have a lot of male figures except my, you know, a few folks, but I didn't have a lot of refinement in how to handle situations outside of my environment. But I will tell people, if you're willing to learn, you got to be willing to educate people also. So, you know, as 25-year-old Simmons became, or 22-year-old Simmons became a little bit more educated, and we talked about somebody just a minute, Herman, and I ain't going to embarrass him, but we just talked about one person we both know. Man, when I met that kid was a hard-head Brooklyn, New York kid, man. And look how successful he is today because he was willing to learn. He was willing to know what gaps he had, know that, man, I need to fill these gaps up a little bit. But, you know, for those of us who get the information, for those of us who can look back and say, man, I changed, and, you know, that, you know, I can still keep it real, but I can still be a person who understands how this world works. We got to be willing to force feed that information to everybody behind us. And not everybody's going to take it. Not everybody's going to take it. But you can't give up on it. If this is just a military leader subordinate thing, then it's the same thing. You got to constantly, your charge for 2 years, if that's your truth, is to make that person the best they can and make the person the best they can. You got to beat your head up against the wall. You got to tell them all the information. You got to lead them to water. But at the end of 2 years, man, guess what? You got to make a decision. If that person is not ready to be a person who is going to lead other human beings, then you got to man up. You got to woman up and say, hey, bro, you ain't getting promoted. If that's corporate or military, you ain't ready yet for this. Because what the worst thing you can do is put people who are not ready to be good humans over other human beings because they may be technically proficient. You know, you just got to own up to it. So what do I say to people who ain't ready to be authentic? Then, okay, well, we got a place for you. You might not be in a position to lead other people yet, but we got a place for you. If you're good at your job, then be good at your job. But, you know, we got to work on you a little bit more. But that's what we got to get back to, is accountability in the world. This ain't, you know, military centric, but in the world of holding people accountable for how we treat each other and holding people accountable that when you make it, it ain't your success solely on your own. When you make it somewhere to another level, your responsibility at that point, for me, mentally, like how I visualize it, is when I make staff, all right, I got to figure out how my A1Cs make staff now. I got to start grooming them up to make BTZ, and I got to start making my senior airman staff started. When I made chief, I'm trying to figure out what master sergeants that I'm trying to make chiefs now. You know, that because who run it? Who got it? Who I'm investing myself into to make them come forward? So it just has to be a holistic view of, man, you're talking about people not being able to lead or not being able to be authentic. I mean, that's our job to teach when we in a position to teach, man. So my thing to them will be, you either got to get on this train of how you treat people. One thing I would not tolerate is another human being treating another human being incorrectly. I don't care how talented you are in your job. If you can't lead people effectively, and I just got nothing for you, because you're going to damage people for the long term.
Hey, brother, you see that question below?
I see it.
Yeah.
really say, how do I don't know if you want me to. Okay, you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. And how do we get back to a culture of not being promoted is okay?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get back to a culture?
Well, my question is, was that ever a time? You see what I'm saying? Because if you think about it, this is such a, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, and fellas, y'all can chime in if you think, but I believe that we in this organization, we talk out of both sides of our mouths. Okay. Mm-hmm. We say, hey, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Trust me, we're all in this together. And to an extent we are, right? When you go to war, when we deploy, whatever, at the same time, based off your organization, it becomes a eat dog eat. You get what I mean? So how can we, or is there a such thing as going back to that culture?
Well, I think yes and no. I think I know what the question. I get what they're saying. Yeah, I get what they're saying. So, I came in at a different time. I was in, when I came in, promotions were different, right? My first supervisor was, a senior airman at 7 or 8 years and already graduated ALS and was a phenomenal supervisor. One of my first supervisors, a couple of my first supervisors were senior airmen. You fast forward, a couple of my supervisors after that were 14, 15, 16 year staff sergeants. But that was pretty common because of the promotion rates, because of the environment of how we promoted people. They were very experienced junior NCOs. And I will tell you, because I'm the recipient of that. I'll just be honest. If we're talking, military promotion talk, 1997, 98, when the promotion rates started to increase, I'm one of the first people that rode that wave. I made staff my first time when it wasn't a time where people made staff that often, because promotion rates you had to score over 100. So I was one of the first classes of people that, rode that promotion rate wave up. What I would say, not rode it, but it was easier for my generation, starting with me, to get promoted quicker. And it just, we increased that over time where staff became a little bit, not easier, but the promotion rates increased and all these different things. So when you got a larger pool, in my opinion, this is in fact, I know some of my friends are watching and they're going to eat me up here in a second.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, but this is in my opinion, because we became a culture of things and I don't like the word easier, but it was more opportunities to get promoted quicker, that it became kind of a cultural expectation that you get promoted, right? So you almost started looking at the people who didn't get promoted of why you didn't get promoted, because the promotion rate was in the 60s at some point for staff sergeant. So because we've done that for almost 15 years now, it is a culture. And I don't think it was something that was intentionally done to say that, now everybody wants to get promoted. Then you can put other things in there, stratification, all these different competitive categories of things that you put in there that have made people compete against each other. How do we get back to a culture? I'll just be honest. The one thing I tell people that I will not do till the day they put me 6 feet under is, I served 25 years in the Air Force. I had a great opportunity to make a lot of great and a lot of bad decisions as a leader. What I won't do is I want Monday morning quarterback the decisions that our leaders make now that I'm not in uniform, because I've been in those rooms. I've gotten it right. I've gotten it wrong. I've gotten it okay. So, and without me having all the information, but since I'm kind of fresh out, and I'll just tell you my opinion as a former senior NCO, there are some things we have to lower probably. In my opinion, if I was king for a day, I would look at, do we need stratification? Do we need all these competitive things that pit people against each other to get promoted? Or do we need to just promote people off of what your records, what your criteria is, your job performance? Do we need a number? Because as a former command chief, that process is essentially governed wing by wing. I won't say it's not a wild, wild west. It's not, but it is pretty subjective. So when our folks believe that they have to go out of their way to do things that are not naturally in their psyche to do. And if you want to sit here and be a master sergeant and take care of your people all day, and you want all your folks to be successful, and that's what you do, you grind up in your unit. Me personally as a chief, that's what I want you to do. I kind of really want you to do that. But in some systems, if you're not out front, that may be negative to you making it to the next If no one knows that you're out there invisible being this person, then that can be perceived sometimes. I'm just telling you what folks have told me, can be perceived as negative. And that's the wrong message. So we shouldn't want people to want to leave the opportunity to lead their people, to think that they have to be outside of their organization doing all of these things, when the priority is to be inside of your organization, leading the people, especially at a senior NCO rank, and making the organization successful, making your people successful, making the mission successful. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Because and that's based on my own experience. Mm-hmm. I, as a master sergeant, had to make that same decision. And sometimes I made a decision that I felt that was detrimental to my career, because I chose not to do these things at the time, in that era, that people were telling me that would get me promoted. You need to go do these X, Y things. But at the time, I was in charge of 35 people as a master sergeant, where I felt like my time as someone who worked shift work at night needs to be invested in my people. And it probably did. It didn't cost me. I retired as a chief, but at the time I did walk around thinking, man, am I making the right choice? Should I sacrifice more time away from my family or more time away from my troops to go do this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing? And it became a hard decision. And I think it still today is a hard decision for some of our folks in uniform. Do they go do these things and not participate in what maybe where they're needed? So.
Hey, hold on, Todd. Hey, real quick, brother, because we're on a roll and I want to get to some of these questions. But before I do, ladies and gentlemen, we always have to give a shout out to our sponsors, and we're going to talk about Kevlar's Grill. You better act like you know about Kevlar's Grill. As a matter of fact, if you don't know, you're about to know in 1 second, because I'm going to show you how good the food is. All right, feast your eyes. Check this out. All right, so they got the macaroni and cheese. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I am a macaroni and cheese king, okay? And they got the steaks and they got the healthy foods and all of that. So make sure you check them out, okay? Their number is 618-416-5700. All right, they're inside the VFW, located at Scott Air Force Base, VFW Post 4183, okay? And again, they do the Grub Hub. Check them out, Kevlar's Grill. As you can tell and as you can see, you can order right now. The food is amazing. So special shout out to Kevlar's Grill.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. The Lion's Den podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
All right. So welcome back, everybody. Welcome. Hopefully y'all can dig it and y'all having a good old time. So, Mr. Simmons, listen, you got fired up. Okay, you got fired up. It's okay. It's okay. But you know what? It's good because what they don't know is that we feeling it. We need it, and there's other individuals that need to hear this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to transition to a couple of the comments. I just want to post them up for you. Okay. Let's see. Miss Nina Sky said this: when you have those that reach the highest rank of chief, why is it that it's harder for fellow chiefs to be transparent and honest with them when they're mistreating those below them? You should be able to tell a fellow chief that the same thing you'll be able to tell an A1C or staff sergeant. Do you agree with that?
To Nina's question, everybody is based on your experience, and I'm not sitting here to be a chief master sergeant defender or a defender of anyone, but I will tell you that goes back to building leaders who are able at all levels. I mean, I see it at all levels, but even as chiefs, I witnessed what you have said, Nina? Absolutely, at all levels, including chief master sergeant. But we have to build leaders, number one, who are willing to make the tough calls, not when they're chiefs, but when they're staff sergeants. And we need to hold them accountable to that all the way up to the ranks. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't hold them accountable as staffs, techs, masters, and seniors, then I don't know what you're going to expect. It's no magic bullet when you make chief that says all of a sudden you are a chief and all of these things are just, materializes into your brain. It's about growing leaders who are those leaders who are not afraid to have feedback, who are not to tell people because this is the thing. I grew up as a defender. And people, when I tell people, I teach a lot about empathetic leadership, right? And I always thought I was, pretty empathetic, but on the other end, I was also tough. And I don't believe that if I go back to a lot of those people, Herman, you and I just talked about one. If you go back to that individual and you ask him one question, was Master Sergeant Simmons or Staff Sergeant Simmons tough on him? He's going to be like, absolutely. But that's one of my closest friends to this day, and it always has been. But it wasn't about toughness. Doesn't have to be weakness. Toughness is love, man. And the toughness doesn't have to be derogatory where you're demeaning people. Toughness is love where you have to make them believe you that, man, I'm trying to get you here. Man, this is love. I'm trying to get you here. What you're doing today ain't right. What how you coming in here ain't right. How you're not preparing yourself for the future ain't right. So, when you don't grow leaders early that can look someone in the eye and give them that kind of tough feedback, tough love, then that's what you're going to get on the other end, and it corporate, military, whatever. So for me, I'll just be honest with you, and you got to be willing to not make friends. I want to be friends with everyone, but I'm friends with not a lot of people. And when I say friends, because when you're in a leadership position, you got to tell people stuff that they don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. Some of those people are going to go, I appreciate that. Thank you. You helped me out. And some of those people are going to think you're the worst person to ever walk the earth. And that's, you gotta be okay with both of those.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, so we're going to transition to your book, all right? So we're going to transition real smooth over to your book. And just, we're going to be quick with it, you know what I mean? Don't act bashful, because that's what we're going to do. But Larry, he got some questions. Larry got some questions on this. What you got, Larry?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I found in the book interesting, but there's just a few things I'll touch on just due to time. So one of the things that I picked up on, and we've had this discussion many times amongst ourselves, but now that you're here and you wrote it in your book, let's get your opinion on this. Part of being a leader is knowing your why. All right, you talked about how you look in the mirror and you gave yourself some words, or sometimes you would just look and look at that reflection for a couple seconds before you hit the door and started, doing your business as usual. As far as getting your day started. So what is your for those that are listening, can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Knowing your why.
Yeah, knowing your why, man. I mean, knowing your why, knowing your purpose. Simon Sinek talks about, knowing your why. David Goggins talks about accountability mirror. All these different people out there talk about this. It's no new information. What it is every one of us have to find a way to center ourselves, right? And for me, we can do a whole nother show on mental health and stuff. But I went to some significant mental health challenges early in my career and at the middle point in my career and toward, the last 30% of my career. So I had some things that I had to deal with, right? So I will tell you, I've always been a person who's been searching on who's Todd Simmons. And through some help that people have helped me out, I had to get myself to do certain things every day to recenter myself. And that's one of the things. So for me, that's finding who I am every day. That's recentering myself, because you can get in a place, and we all do, and it doesn't have to be a mental health issue. It's just who we are as humans. Sometimes we doubt ourselves, right? We tell ourselves that maybe that's not for me, or subconsciously you'll tell yourself that you can't achieve something. It's maybe something from 40 years ago, or when you were a kid, or you were seeing something like, Steph has a talk show or a podcast and a book, and he's doing all these things, and you guys are supporting him. But something, I'm sure at some point in Seth's journey, probably had some self-doubt about, oh man, is this going to work? But you have to find that purpose. Every morning I get up, I look in the mirror, and I either tell myself I'm a bad MFer, I tell myself that, you know what, you got this, or I tell myself, look, you know what, this is going to be hard, man, but you got this. Because there are times in your life, man, where things are going to be tough, and you got to refine your why, you got to find your purpose. For me, my purpose is to keep moving forward, never back, just forward. So I got to get up every morning and start my day like that, man. If I don't, then I let things creep in my head that shouldn't be there.
So as you see, you got your, hey, thanks for that, Larry. So you got a question down there. What are a few nuggets that you can provide about the preparation for a corporate world? All right, that's slightly different from the military construct.
Man, that's a great question. That's Keith Castile, man. I know Keith for a while now. He's down at Lackland doing great things in BMT. But I will tell you, I'll give you a little story real fast. I know my story, we're going long here, but for me, I did a Facebook Live with Quarantine University on military transition, and someone asked me a similar question about how was my transition, and I was honest with him. Other than 45 days of me just trying to figure out, man, this whole new norm of not putting a uniform on, my transition was pretty good. It's because I spent about the last 17 years having two lives, essentially. I was a military member trying to do the best I can with that, but I also was very steeped into what my passion and purpose was in the civilian life, teaching college, doing all of those things that kept me really focused on the two parallels. So when I transitioned, it was an easy transition for me to do the thing that I absolutely loved for the last 15 to 17 years in uniform. Just was another love. So corporate world, man, it's different, man, according to where you go. I mean, I will tell you, regardless if you're a chief, a master sergeant, or whatever, or a senior airman who gets at it 4 years, that, people are, one thing I learned, because I work with two corporate companies right now on organizational culture. And one company I went to, we can sometimes be in uniform and take things for granted. And we can say that, man, I go to this squadron, nobody knows who I am, and we're not connected, which may be to our standard correct. But in the corporate world, according to where you go, man, it's business, man. People have little time to really make those connections the way I have made connections and you have made connections in the military. So the biggest thing I can tell you that's different is it's driven by different motives, right? Both motives are mission driven, but one is more of a financial driven that, people come and go based on their needs, and the military is more of a, holistic, entity that people kind of move in the same direction. And that's just not the same in the corporate world. So what I will tell you is, people will always thank you for I'll end with this. Everyone in the corporate world is always going to thank you for your service. They're not going to want to really, after thank you for your service, and after that, it's about business. So whatever you did in the military, be proud of that. Take that and take those characteristics and that character traits that we taught you into corporate America. But again, all of those character traits will absolutely not play out in corporate America. You cannot be the same person all the time according to what sector you're in military. I have to be more patient. I have to be extremely more patient. I can't walk into a corporate room expecting people to look at me as a command chief where people are listening to me for different reasons than they're listening to me now. When you're in uniform and you're authority driven, then people tend to react to your authority. In the corporate world, they're not necessarily all the time reacting to your authority.
So to your point though, we're in different parts of our career as far as the den and everyone that's watching right now, that's still in. But what would you say about, or maybe you hit on it as far as your patience, but for me, I think my struggle will be my tolerance level, and because of my standards has been so high for the last 20 odd years, that now I have to operate in an environment that's so, in my mind, subpar, right? But then that subpar is, to everyone else's opinion, the standard, and a good and a high standard. So what do you think about that?
So I would say caution and think that every situation. So that's a great point, Seth. When you walk into you have to lower it's not even lower your expectation. You have to open your mind. So it's not really a subpar culture. I always tell people it's just a different culture, and it's absolutely no different than the military, right? AFSCs in the United States Air Force are driven by culture. We absolutely can say that. If you are this versus this versus this, there's some subcultures in these AFSDs. I look at corporate America as just another subculture in the world that we live in. What you have to understand is that people's motivation is different sometimes, and it's different. Same thing. People's motivation is different. People's end state is different. People have to rely on, I work with a company that has to make goals every quarter, unless they won't be open in a year. That's not something that I had to traditionally worry about in the military. I didn't worry about as a command chief if this quarter, if Air University didn't make this goal, that we may be shut down at the end of the year. So, how I didn't work an extra 10 or 12 hours or 13 hours, for a quarter to try to make gold and try to make sales. And that wasn't the way I was doing things in the military, because we work toward a goal. Sometimes our goal is spread out because we have the benefit of spreading our goals out over a year or two. But in corporate America, you just got to understand, before you walk through the door of any job, and we say corporate America, it can be all the way down to an entry-level job. You have to know what the motivation of that company is. What is the motivation of this company every quarter, every year? What is my manager's motivation? How do my manager live? How do they make their money? How do they make their bonus? You need to know what their motivations are. We don't traditionally grow up that way, right? You got a chief, you got a squadron commander, they give you goals, they give you objectives, we go about our business. But you really need to know what the pressure of your middle management is. You need to know what the pressure of your upper management is. You need to know what the overall goals of the company is, because you play a role into that may be something that you are not used to. So you just need to understand that.
All right. Well, look, that's a good one. Hey, so we got a question from Herm. What you got, Herm?
Hey, Todd, question for you real quick. The Courageous Leadership Alliance, what is the mission of this company's program? So what is it exactly?
So it's so leadership development company. So I named my, Seth. I look at Seth one day, and he had his, this show that you guys are doing called Alliance, and I'm like, I had something in my notebook called Alliance Den.
Hey, so I want everybody to know that's on the record, right?
I'm like, okay. All right, so our logos are similar. I'm like, okay.
You got sweaters.
Workout gear. That's what I'm.
Hey, you got some num juice holders. But go ahead.
So Courageous Leadership Alliance, when I thought about the name, courageous, what we're talking about over this last 30 minutes is, I believe in bold leadership, man. Bold, unapologetic, passionate leadership, which means you go out there and you lead head first and you do the right things. You lead from the heart. You become an empathetic leader. You become a vulnerable leader. You become somebody who's connected. And, so that's where the courageous piece came in. And the alliance piece is just who I believe as a person, that you don't get any place alone. That's my number one thing in life. I didn't do anything in my life alone. I credit my wife for helping me get here. I credit so many supervisors for helping me get here. I credit my kids. I credit every person that I ever got something from for helping me. So the alliance piece is what my business is around. It's partnering with people who are going again in my direction to partner with to go that direction. So what is it? Leadership development company that focuses on organizational culture, resiliency, team building, all of those different umbrellas, anything under that umbrella. So doing a lot of traveling, working with corporate coaching. So a lot of, what I've been doing with these two companies is trying to assess organizational culture from middle and upper management. How do you, like we were talking about, how do you effectively implement, management strategies of connectiveness and empathy and all of these different things where you can see what's the bottom line, right? How does a leader in corporate America take these principles and implement them where their workers want to come through the door every day and feel connected to your organization, which in turn increases productivity, which productivity increases profitability. So that's kind of where we're at with that piece. In the military side, work with the military, it's about growing an army of people who understand that empathetic leadership will decrease the suicide rate, will increase people's ability to want to stay around in the military, and just all around make people want to serve in a way that we can look back at the end. Every single person who looks back at their career go, I felt something. So it's about teaching people to lead with their heart, where people who you lead feel something, man, that they feel that you care. They feel that the organization cares. They know that they care. Because I understand, we do a lot of things that for folks, but I tell people that at the end of the day, buying people Veridesk or buying people a new dormitory or opening up a new building has instant gratification that will wear off in about 90 days. or 6 months.
That's right.
But making somebody feel like they're a superhero, like they're valued, like they're somebody, man, that don't wear off ever. That they take that to their grave.
That's right.
We all can come up with one name right now, somebody who's affected our life. Sergeant so-and-so, Airman so-and-so, Mr. so-and-so from the neighborhood, Miss Jane from the hood. And we can always go to those people, and the emotion that you account with is how they made you feel.
That's
Why
right.
can't we teach leaders to make people feel a certain way? Because that's a lifetime gift you can give someone.
Okay. Well, listen, brother, we got another question, but from Will.
25 years in the service, dedication. First, I want to say thank you for your service. The next thing is, as almost a 19-year master sergeant, I have discussions as how do you determine what your financial worth is once you transition from the military? When you transition to that civilian sector, how do you know what your worth is? Because a lot of people go to just do the job versus having a mindset to leverage the leadership skills given and taught to us to manage that job, the equipment, the processes, etc. What can you offer up?
Man, that's a great question, man. And that's something that I honestly pro bono coach a lot of people about, because you're worth as much as you think you're worth. And I tell people, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, we would have been considered a blue collar type workforce, where we would have, primarily went out and got some of the jobs in that workforce where we wouldn't have looked up to middle manager. You even didn't see a lot of chiefs 20 years ago that really would shoot for those middle. And I will tell you, today I know chiefs, I know master sergeants who have retired, and I know a staff sergeant of mine who got out as a tech school instructor, went back to school, and is doing extremely well for himself in a major corporation. What I'm saying is you got to value yourself first, right? I was just the Air University Command Chief. I will tell you, I used to see the stats all the time. Man, we got last time I saw it was almost 8,000 technical sergeants in the Air Force with a degree, with a bachelor's degree, right? So the workforce is a little bit different now, where, you as an enlisted, and this is not officer bashing. My wife was an officer, she's right downstairs. But what you have that you don't value enough is the fact that you have the technical and the leadership skills in one. And how you carry yourself, how you present yourself, how you, so this is something I always try to tell senior NCOs. Yes, we advise officers, and it's in our little brown book, and we do these things. But don't ever discredit what you bring to the table beyond just advising somebody. Man, you've led thousands of people. You say you've been in 19 years. You've led tons of people at this point. You've made mistakes. You've done great things. It's how you leverage that when you're talking to an employer. I will tell you, I had no issue. I know plenty of people who retired master sergeants who have no issue getting into the job market because of your technical and leadership expertise. So you have to know your value. You have to do the work. So when I talk about transition, so I will ask you this, Will. Have you been to TAPS yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will tell you the biggest thing I tell people. Transition is a career mindset. What I mean by that is you don't start transition at 19 years in. You start transition at 2 years in. That sounds crazy, right? So I tell people all the time, look, right now we have a great assets out there. We got all of these organizations like Centurion Military Alliance, Hire Your Heroes, these big job fairs and stuff. I don't push people to those job fairs to say, I want you to get out of the Air Force. You came in when you were 18. There's no way you're going to go 22 years in the Air Force without ever assessing your worth in the civilian sector, and at the end of 22 years have a great cognitive kind of interpretation of what the sector wants from you. So you should always be trying to look at, when you're talking about evaluating your worth, what's your worth when you were at 10 years, so you can know the things that you got to build upon when you get to 15. Then go check out what's your worth at 15. Okay, man, I'm falling a little short. Now I need to kind of build. That's what I did.
Right.
Like I said, I was transitioning for 17 years, man. I know I wanted to stay in the Air Force at some point and make it a career, but I knew this career would be over. And I knew when this career was over, I needed to have something else that I already was steeped in. So right now, teaching on the college level is all about experience, right? All about experience. So if I wanted to wait till 25 years, because that's something I always wanted to do, is go be a teacher, right? An instructor, a professor. If I waited 25 years to get into that game, I would be well behind my peers. I started teaching as a tech sergeant. So now when I retire as a chief master sergeant with 25 years, I got 13 years of teaching experience.
You see what I'm saying? This is the math.
I'm already in line and surpassed some of my peers who did not wear the uniform. So when I apply for an adjunct professor job at a university, I don't have a problem getting a job because I have two important things. Like I said, you have leadership and experience in the military, and I have experience teaching for 13 years. So you bring that all together, I've already did some of the things in Homeland Security that they're talking about. I've already did some of the things in criminal justice that they're talking about. And not only have I done them, I've taught them for 13 years to thousands of students. So what's your two loves? So transition is a career-long thing. So, knowing your worth isn't about being in 19 years. Knowing your worth is probably, I would tell you when somebody should get serious about knowing their worth is probably at the 9-year mark. Because you probably committed at that point to retiring, but you should spend the next 11 years understanding how you need to be as both a non-commissioned senior non-commissioned officer, and how do you become a U.S. citizen again in a job market. So that's just my humble opinion. I can tell you that it gave me options when I retired because I've always built those building blocks over 15, 17 years.
All right. Well, listen, we got that's on point, brother. Well, listen, we got a question from Larry. What you got, Larry?
Hey, Chief, good stuff. I'm referencing back to your book again, and I'm going to talk about something you mentioned in your book. And you talked about leading when it's most difficult. And you think about the time we're in right now, where we got leaders across the globe, not just military, but wherever you're at as in a leadership position. What is your message to those folks that are leading when it's difficult versus when it's, peacetime and everything is hunky-dory? What about this time now that we're in? This is where true leadership really shows, I think. What's your message to those?
Wow, you just said it, man. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what the crisis is. It doesn't matter if it's war. It doesn't matter if it's a pandemic. It doesn't matter if it's a tornado. It doesn't matter what the crisis is. Leaders emerge in crisis. And so those in leadership positions or in times or what you would say of relatively calm and norm, I won't say that's easy because, leading is hard every day. I don't care how calm or normal you think it is. It's very difficult to be a leader at any level. Even a staff sergeant leading 6 troops is very difficult. I've been there. But I will tell you, during a crisis, true leadership rises to the occasion. And if you go back, if we're talking in a military terminology, those who have been in conflict at times of life, limb, risk. I mean, we read about these heroes, right? Our Medal of Honor, our Silver Star. People, ordinary guys and girls who showed up that morning to just do the job. They were already good leaders. And in an instant, they step up beyond what everybody is willing to step up to do because it's needed. And right now, it's no different than any other time. This pandemic is identifying those people who are in position of leadership, and it's identifying those ones who are willing to step up a little bit farther than the others. And it's just obvious. And this is going to go on for the rest of human existence. So what I would tell people now is that, look, your normal is not the same as it was 30 days ago. You absolutely have to find ways to step beyond what your comfort zone was 30 days ago. Because the consequence of that is they are watching you.
Yo, that's deep. That's deep, brother. Hey, see, so now look, I understand that, with the social distances, we can't go to church, but you just went to church there because he dropping those Jews. Hey, so we got a question from Herm, and we're gonna wrap it up here shortly, but we want to get this question in. What you got, Herm?
Hey, so, a lot of us always say that, we don't ever regret mistakes because we learn from our mistakes, right? But one of the things about learning from our mistakes is to pass it on to other people so they also learn from our mistakes. So throughout your career, if there's something that you learned from a mistake that you made, what would you like to pass on to our listeners and even to us on the cast about a mistake you learned through a lesson you learned through the mistakes you've made?
Man, that's a great question, Herman. And I'll be real honest with you, man. And that, this brings up a more recent issue that I'll just talk to you about real fast is, I talked about it in another podcast here recently, is that, we all, I just ended that statement and say they are watching. And as a leader at all levels, they're always watching. The mistake I made, I went through a portion of my career where, I may have been suffering from some personal things that I didn't get help with quick enough, and it came out in my leadership. And I remember one particular time that I did not even know I did this. And I'll just tell you how important it is. Like I say, I teach all this stuff, but I can fall also, and you got to own the mistakes. I'm glad you asked this question. There was a particular airman who was under investigation for a year, and for he ended up getting cleared after a year. And he ended up doing some things that I perceived probably weren't in line with the standards after this whole thing happened. So my last encounter with this airman, I did extremely embarrassed to do it. And at the time, I thought I was giving that tough love. Like I just said earlier, tough love is tough as long as it's treating people like humans and being empathetic. But I gave him some of that old school tough love, and I was, thought I was like trying to snap this young man back into, hey, you need to. And that was the last encounter I had with him. And that was 2013. 2013. Do you know that airman, I am me on Facebook, who's now an NCO in the United States Air Force, about 2 weeks ago. And he asked, could he make contact with me? And I said, absolutely. And we talked on the phone for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that conversation I had with that airman before he left, and the conversation, he took it such to heart till he blamed me for wanting to harm, went on to commit suicide later.
Wow.
And I said, but he wanted to call me and said he wanted to let me know that wasn't the reason why. And he wanted to reach out to me for years to know, to basically say, hey, I just want to talk to you about how you felt that day when you were talking, that we had this encounter and other encounters. And the reason why I can own here is that we make mistakes. And we do. And as leaders, you got to own it. And even when you think you're doing the right thing, it can be the wrong thing. And I tell you that airman, the reason why I can tell you that in public is because, man, what a defining moment for me, only a month or so after I'm off a terminal leave, and that this airman, now technical sergeant, wants to reach out to me, and we had a great conversation. That he said, hey, I see things differently than the kid I was when I was 19 years old. And I just want to close the loop with you now.
And you know what? Yeah, that takes a lot of humility. That takes a lot of humility.
But it took a lot of humility. I mean, it takes a lot for me to go back and say, you know what? Even though, I could have easily said, well, I just told him like it is. No, you know what? I shouldn't have talked to that young man like that, because I've never talked to anybody like that since or before. I mean, it was just such an emotionally in charge moment that I felt like he just was, I knew this young man before he came in the military. So there was some personal connection there. And I felt like almost I failed him to a point where, I couldn't get him back right. So here he is, just got out of trouble, and I think he's about to get into more trouble. And I think it just was a bad situation that, in my mind, the last 8 years, I didn't see it as a bad situation. I saw, I probably shouldn't have talked to him like that, and I chewed his butt. But I didn't know how it greatly affected him. And that's why I go back to how you deal with people has a lifetime consequence, man.
Okay.
What a lesson for me.
Yeah, and yeah, that's real, and I can appreciate that, and I'm sure our listeners can appreciate that too. Not just that, though, we have individuals that's on Facebook, and guys, I see the questions, and we want to get to them, and we are pressed for time, but this is some real good stuff, right? So, hey, if y'all live right now, just do me a favor and put your area code up so the Chief and I and everybody can see where you coming in and where you tuning in. Hey, so Chief, we got a question from L Boogie. That's the Chief down there, all right, in San Antonio. He getting it in. So he says, what was the most challenging, all right, that was challenging moment in your in uniform, while in uniform?
Most challenging moment in uniform? 2 March 2011.
Okay.
I know the date.
Wow.
2 March 2011. I was a senior master sergeant for 24 hours, and I was a lot of my leadership was out of pocket. So my commander was on a cruise on regular leave, and my chief was deployed, and my senior master sergeant that was over me was deployed, and we deployed 15 airmen that morning, and it was the Frankfurt International Airport attack, and we lost the moon.
Oh.
Wow.
And as a 24-hour senior master sergeant, I was expected and needed to lead that squadron that day. So that was my toughest day in uniform, that I had to rise to the occasion for 350 people. But we go back to just 24 hours before that, I was a master sergeant thinking everything was great and that I was just going to get a great EPR bullet that said that I was the acting chief.
Wow.
So now I got to go from, oh man, I'm filling a seat, to you are the seat. So that was the toughest day, because it wasn't even, it wasn't that day, it was that entire year. Because that day happened, and then the rest of the year we have to take care of these airmen, we have to take care of these airmen's families, we have to take care of, the things that come after this, the mental health issues, the stress, the redeploying other people after that. So toughest day I had in uniform, 2 March 2011 by far.
Wow. Whoa.
This is deep, bro.
Yeah, that is. Well, listen, hey, I want to say thank you, right? Thank you from the Lions Den. I want to thank you from everyone, all the area codes. You see the numbers popping up? Look, you got your fans over there. We down in San Antonio. All right. We down in the Lou, of course, and we have in Langley. Okay. Hey, look at Germany getting it in. I see you, Germany. All right. 334. Where that's at? Don't matter. I see you. Let's get it in. Okay. All right. And look, we do appreciate it. But hey, so any final words from the Lions Den? What y'all got for the Chief?
Hey, for me, great show. I appreciate you coming on to us and dropping those jewels, that knowledge. We seek it each and every single day, and this is kind of the platform for this, and we appreciate people like you that come on and actually, be authentic and transparent. This is what we need. This is what we want. So I appreciate you, Chief.
Yes.
No, thanks, man. Thanks for the questions.
No doubt. What you got, Will?
I'm gonna say, Chief, honestly, now that you retired, but you're able to come back and give back and drop this well-needed information, that I only hope that leaders that aren't doing such a great job listening to the information that you're providing, because they're needed more so than not. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your perspective, and just dropping this information down. But hey, that transformational, inspirational leadership that you provided is greatly appreciated, but keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for being on the show.
Right on. Hey, what you got, Herm?
Hey, so for me personally, I want to thank you, and you're part of the new wave of chiefs that really embrace what social media means and how you can affect, other airmen, other people inside of the Air Force. Y'all really reached out. I'm part of your other page. Y'all really reached out to make sure y'all connected with us at every level through social media. And I appreciate the way y'all changed the perspective on how social media is viewed and how it can be a useful tool if used correctly. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for the Air Force.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, uh-oh. All right, there you go. I keep hitting the wrong button. Hey, Chief, we got one last question. So she had a question asking if your book was available on Audible, or I guess audio. And the last one was also, what podcast are you listening to?
Oh, I see Kim down there gonna put me on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't been listening to any podcast probably, honestly, the last month or so. I've been kind of busy on like 15 other things, but There are a lot of great podcasts out there. But yeah, I can't think of one. I've been trying to get up on my reading. I've been rereading a lot of things here lately. But podcast wise, Kim, I tell you what, I know who Kim is. I will go through my Spotify and I will.
Hold on, wait a minute, Kim, what up? Check it out. What you not gonna do is get on the Lions Den and try to get a shameless plug from the chief. No. What I need you to do is get. We ain't gonna do that. Hey, we too classy, right? But no, anyway. But look, shout out to y'all. Shout out to everybody.
Listen to the Lions Den.
No. We don't need it. Don't do it. No. Hey man, look. Check this out. You already took the logo. You took everything else. No, don't do it now. I'm joking. But listen, everybody. We want to thank y'all. But seriously though, Chief. Hey, you got it in, brother. This was official. Seriously, this really was, man. Thank you for taking the time out, and thank you for getting it in, and sharing your thoughts and being not just courageous, but part of that being courageous is being authentic. You know what I mean? And it seemed as though that you were able to do it while you were in, and the transition was smooth because you didn't change. You feel me? You didn't change. Everything that I heard about you prior to then has been nothing but authentic. And so what I can appreciate is that it wasn't about what you said about you. It was about what other people said about you that matters. And that's what I listened to. You get what I'm saying? So I do appreciate you. Seriously, brother. It's been a very, very great experience. OK, and everybody that's tuned in right now, that's on the live, y'all stay tuned because we're getting ready to end the podcast. Everybody that's on the podcast, make sure y'all subscribe and you listen to it. We're on every major podcast platform. All right. And we are close to 4,000 people, right? That's following and everything. So it's great stuff. But catch us Wednesday. All right. Coming up Wednesday, we're going to have the Corona File. Stay tuned. Thank y'all for tuning in.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Make sure to listen to the show on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, and Radio Public, where you can subscribe, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you like or dislike this episode, we'd appreciate your feedback on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Lionscast. Check out the book, The Black Collar Mindset, The Art of Strategic Thinking, on Amazon, or www.theblackcollarmindset.com, a manual to maneuver through life strategically by holding yourself accountable. Tune in next week for another episode of The Lion's Den with Seth.